It's the close of day one at the insurance conference in Sun City. We've had an interesting and full day. Risk Africa TV is joined now by Jaco van der Merwe, Director of Short-Term Insurance at Deloitte. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Pleased to be here.
You shared with us today insights around some of the trends that are coming out of regulatory change within the sector in South Africa. And there's a sense that regulation may be stifling innovation within the industry. You hinted that for advisors in particular, and perhaps for the industry more broadly, there really is opportunity for innovation within this.
Yeah, that's actually spot on. I think it's a well-known situation that when you start drawing lines and putting borders in place in terms of how you regulate and rules, it does inhibit the ability to innovate and come up with new ideas. I think the topic was discussed earlier today and in quite a bit of detail. But I think my experience is that South Africans are phenomenally ingenious. We will always come up with solutions to find alternative ways of making things work. So I think, out of that, my experience is that companies, even though they do find their ability to innovate, say, in terms of new products, new markets, and structuring things to work, even though that is inhibited, we do find the ability to work around it. And my perspective on this is actually, as an advisor to those insurers, is actually finding how to play within the new sets of rules that have been drawn up for them. As an advisor, anything that imposes change upon my clients is immediately a source of interaction and business for me, as it were, because given the lack of understanding, the lack of resources, we need people to guide and steer through this new landscape. So, as difficult as it might be to sometimes interplay these kind of competing objectives, change is actually good for us in the advisory capacity. Yes.
You spoke also about the way that these changes are requiring different kinds of skill sets and a changing demand around skill. Just unpack that for us a little bit.
Yeah, I think, I'll start firstly with my particular area of expertise. I am an actuary by training, a short-term insurance actuary, and our particular field is one that's really low on skilled resources, skilled and experienced resources. So we have our hands full trying to get the pipeline of skill coming through. The other thing is that our clients are particularly down on skills because they compete for the same actuarial skills that we do, but actually more on the risk and the risk officer and the ERM skills. And that's something that really is new to this whole industry. It's one thing to say we have risk management expertise, but if it's not insurance specific, you need time to get people used to the game. And I think we are particularly low on that. So specifically, skills that are short-term insurance specific is where we are lacking. And I think it's not just us. It's the insurers, the advisors, it's the intermediaries, the brokers. But more concerningly, it's also the regulator who's battling for these same skills. And I think that's where the concern probably is more pronounced.
Yes, picking up exactly on that, is there a concern that we don't have the skills we need within the regulatory body to oversee this process, particularly as it evolves and it drives so much further change?
Well, I think there's a concern that the industry as a whole has that resource shortage, and the regulator is one stakeholder in the industry. So I think it goes without saying that that concern applies to them just as much. I think, I guess a particular concern that I hear being voiced in the industry is that companies will put a lot of time and effort into actually complying with the rules that have been laid down. But the ability on the regulatory side to necessarily pick that up, processes and feedback constructively to the industry, I think is where we're still all waiting to see whether that will happen. A big thing is SAM, which we know has been pushed out a bit, and we'll start seeing the implementation of that only midway through 2016. I think that will be quite a good time to see whether the actual compliance is met with some sort of reciprocity in terms of regulatory feedback.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.